Hi guys, welcome to Tur channel. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button and also subscribe to my channel. Top 50 mysterious things about Pluto, so make sure to watch the full video. The Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory created history with the NASA New Horizons spacecraft 5 years ago. The intrepid piano-sized probe flew within 7,800 miles of Pluto after traveling more than 3 billion miles in over 10 years. We observed the surface of this faraway globe in stunning colorful detail for the first time ever. The flyby, which also provided a close-up view of Charon, the largest of Pluto's 5 moons, brought to an end the initial exploration of the planets by NASA's Mariner 2 mission more than 50 years earlier. It revealed an icy world with stunning geology and landscapes, including towering mountains, enormous ice sheets, pits, valleys, and terrains that were unique to the solar system. 50 craters, mountains, valleys, and plains can be found on Pluto's surface. Pluto's frozen surface can reach temperatures as low as -375 degrees Fahrenheit and as high as -240 degrees Celsius. 49 Pluto was designated a dwarf planet in 2006. Pluto lost its position as the solar system's 9th planet when it was discovered that it was a Plutoid in the Kuiper Belt. Thus, Pluto's status as a planet was only valid for 76 years. 48 The dwarf planet Ceres is another one in the solar system besides Pluto. Eris and Makemake are further solar system objects that fall under the same group. These dwarf planets are substantially smaller than the major planets, as their name implies. 47 When he was only 24 years old, Clyde Tombaugh discovered Pluto. The gravitational pull of an unidentified object caused the orbits of Neptune and Uranus to change before Pluto was discovered. Clyde Tombaugh devoted his time to observing the night sky at Flagstaff, Arizona's Lowell Observatory. Finally, on February 18, 1930, at the age of 24, he announced the discovery of Pluto. 46 Pluto's official symbol is a pair of interlocking P and L letters. They are the initials of the dwarf planet and those of the American astronomer Percival Lowell. Pluto was found due to his initial quest for a planet beyond Neptune. Tombaugh was employed at the Lowell Observatory, which bears Percival's name. 45 Pluto can occasionally be closer to the Sun than Neptune. Due to its irregular orbit, Pluto can occasionally be found closer to the Sun than Neptune. 44 Pluto will be given the name of the Roman underworld deity, as suggested by Bernie. Saturn's son Pluto appears in Roman mythology. Brother Jupiter oversaw the sky, brother Neptune ruled the sea, and brother Pluto ruled the underworld. 43 All cracked up. Pluto, however, has several unusual geological features, including numerous fractures found on the far side, which suggest the possibility of a subsurface ocean and even provide insight into how it developed. 42 A boisterous start. Pluto was a tiny speck of light that could hardly be seen with even the greatest ground-based telescopes when it was discovered 90 years ago by student astronomer Clyde Tombaugh at Flagstaff, Arizona's Lowell Observatory. It wasn't until Pluto crossed in front of a faraway star in 1988 that a fortunate alignment provided scientists with a break. 41 Astronomers compare Pluto to Triton, the moon of Neptune. Let's be clear that Triton and Pluto have quite different histories. For instance, Triton was probably grabbed by Neptune long ago, an event that significantly changed its surface and interior. However, Pluto and Triton probably do share some similarities, such as frozen volatiles, elements with low boiling points, weak nitrogen atmospheres, and similar ice and rock compositions. As Pluto images from New Horizons arrive, researchers are using old Voyager 2 images to compare them. 40 Pluto might have a ring structure. Even though it's not a given, at least one research team believes that the debris floating around Pluto may eventually coalesce into a flimsy ring system. By the way, we already know of at least one asteroid that contains rings, so it is plausible. So this wouldn't come as a huge surprise. New Horizons researchers will also search for additional moons and intriguing surface features like cracks on Pluto's surface. 39 Pluto has an atmosphere. Astronomers discovered evidence of Pluto's exosphere for the first time in 1985. Pluto is a tiny world, but like Mercury and the Moon, it has a flimsy atmosphere known as an exosphere. They noticed a star begin to dim very slightly when Pluto moved in front of it, before Pluto totally obscured the star. When Pluto is farthest from the Sun, this atmosphere, which is primarily composed of nitrogen and methane, freezes. 38 Pluto can approach the Sun more closely than Neptune. Pluto was once thought to be the planet that was farthest from the Sun, but due to its highly erratic orbit, it approaches the Sun more frequently than Neptune. According to NASA, its average distance from the Sun is 39.5 astronomical units (AU), Earth-Sun distances. However, it ranges from 29.7 AU to 49.7 AU. Between 1979 and 1999, it was last physically inside Neptune's orbit. 37. There may be a sea on Charon. Given that Charon is so far from the Sun, it seems improbable to have an ocean. Yet at least one research hints that it might be conceivable. The tidal force of Pluto's gravity early in Charon's existence may have stretched the Moon's interior and warmed it sufficiently to produce liquid. Having said that, it's also conceivable that the ocean has frozen since Charon's orbit is no longer as eccentric as it formerly was. 36. The other moons could have been created as a result of Charon's formation. Some researchers think Charon was formed after Pluto was struck by a large object billions of years ago, just like our own moon. A chain of waste products would have formed around the dwarf planet as a result, eventually condensing into Charon. 35. Numerous moons orbit Pluto. Pluto and its moon, Charon, have been known to scientists for many years. The two are so closely spaced apart in size that some people thought the system contained two planets, but the dwarf planet classification calls into question that idea. Regardless, the resolution of telescopes and observing methods have improved over the past 10 years, leading to the discovery of several more moons. 34. There is debate over how it defines a dwarf planet. Pluto was classified as a dwarf planet, rather than a planet by the International Astronomical Union in 2006. The justification emerged after a few additional objects of roughly the same size as Pluto was found in the solar system's farthest reaches. Alan Stern, the lead researcher on New Horizons, disagrees with the definition. At the time of the voting, he emphasized that the IAC's definition of the planet did not entirely apply to any larger body. For instance, Earth does not rid its immediate vicinity of debris, which is one of the components of the definition. 33. At the age of just 24, Clyde Tombaugh found Pluto. The gravitational pull of an unidentified object caused the orbits of Neptune and Uranus to change before Pluto was discovered. Clyde Tombaugh devoted his time to observing the night sky at Flagstaff, Arizona's Lowell Observatory. Finally, on February 18, 1930, at the age of 24, he announced the discovery of Pluto. 32. Pluto's official symbol is made up of the letters P and L interlocked. They are the initials of the dwarf planet and those of the American astronomer Percival Lowell. Pluto was found due to his initial quest for a planet beyond Neptune. Tombaugh was employed at the Lowell Observatory, which bears Percival's name. 31. An 11-year-old girl suggested the name Pluto. Following the 1930 discovery, Venetia Burney of Oxford, England, proposed the name. Her grandfather subsequently notified the Lowell Observatory. When Pluto was chosen, she became the first and only 11-year-old girl to name a planet. What a surprising Pluto fact right there. 30. Pluto will be called after the Roman deity of the underworld, after Burney's idea. Saturn's son Pluto appears in Roman mythology. Brother Jupiter oversaw the sky, Brother Neptune ruled the sea, and Brother Pluto ruled the underworld. 29. One of the many little icy worlds in the Kuiper Belt is Pluto. The terms Plutoids, trans-Neptunian objects, and Kuiper Belt objects may also be used to describe these icy and stony bodies. 28. Pluto was volcanically active, and still might be, but perhaps not volcanic in the sense that you might imagine. Molten lava spews, drools, bubbles, and bursts from underwater fissures through volcanoes perched kilometers above and jutting out from the waters, like those in Hawaii on Earth. On Pluto, however, there are multiple signs that a type of icy, slushy cryolava has poured over the surface at different spots. 27. That is what experts refer to as cryovolcanism. Further west of Sputnik Planitia is the Virgil Fosse region, where ammonia-rich cryolavas appear to have erupted and covered a region of several thousand square kilometers in red-colored organic molecules not more than 1 billion years ago, if not even more recently. 26. The dwarf planet Ceres is another one in the solar system besides Pluto. Eris and Makemake are further solar system objects that fall under the same group. These dwarf planets are substantially smaller than the major planets, as their name implies. Numerous glaciers, mostly made of nitrogen ice, can be seen east of Sputnik Planitia as they descend from highlands with valleys in them. The glacier ice is thought to have formed as a result of seasonal and mega-seasonal cycles of nitrogen ices that sublimate from ice to vapor, waft around the dwarf planet, and then freeze back on the surface. 25 Disney based the character Pluto the pup on the minor planet. As Mickey Mouse's devoted sidekick, Pluto made his debut in 1930. There were rumors that the international entertainment giant intended to cash in on the planet's popularity because it was the same year that Tombaugh made his discovery of it. 24 The de facto definition of a planet did not include Pluto. Look no further if you've ever wondered why Pluto is no longer considered to be a planet. According to NASA, a planet must orbit a star, be large enough to have enough gravity to force it into a spherical shape, and be large enough that its gravity cleared away any other objects of similar size near its orbit around the Sun. 23 Pluto's ocean is still liquid, suggesting that it may still be tectonically active. Huge fractures rip through Pluto's icy crust by about 2.5 miles and extend for hundreds of kilometers. However, the slow freezing of an ocean beneath Pluto's surface is one of the only explanations for how it developed those cracks, according to experts. Similar to how an ice cube in your freezer expands when it freezes, water will push and split the surface under an icy coating. However, if the temperature is sufficiently low and the pressure is sufficiently high, water crystals can begin to form a more compact crystal configuration, which will cause the ice to once more contract. 22 In Spud. Pluto, according to models utilizing data from New Horizons, has the right circumstances for that kind of contraction, but there are no known geologic characteristics on the planet that would suggest such a contraction has taken place. According to geologists, this indicates that the deep ocean is still in the process of freezing, which could lead to the development of new faults on the surface. According to Keene, if Pluto is an active ocean world, that suggests that the Kuiper Belt may contain other ocean worlds among its dwarf planets, dramatically increasing the number of potentially habitable locations in our solar system. Although Pluto's liquid ocean most likely still exists today, scientists believe it is mostly cut off by ice, with the exception of the region directly beneath Sputnik. This distance is roughly 200 miles, 320 kilometers. This indicates that it most likely doesn't come into contact with the surface now, but that it once may have done so through a volcanic process known as cryovolcanism. 21 Pluto has many mountains made of enormous slabs of water ice, which are among its remarkable features. These peaks have 6,500 to 9,800 feet elevation ranges or 2 to 3 kilometers. Sometimes these ice mountains are covered in frozen gases like methane. Additionally, Pluto has long troughs and valleys that can be up to 370 miles or 600 kilometers long. 20 Regio, a glacier on Pluto, is formed like a heart. The Tombaugh Regio is roughly the size of Oklahoma and Texas due to Pluto's relative size to the Earth's moon. Along with having beautiful sky, whirling moons and mountains as high as the Rockies, Pluto also has snow, but it's red. Tombaugh commemorates the discoverer of the planet, while Regio is Latin for region. 18 The only dwarf planet known to have an atmosphere is Pluto. Pluto's atmosphere, however, is too thin and hazardous for humans to breathe. Gas makes up Pluto's atmosphere at its solar perihelion closest approach. Otherwise, Pluto's aphelion, its furthest distance from the Sun, has a chilly atmosphere that snows. 17 From 1979 until 1999, Pluto was in perihelion. In addition to being closest to the Sun, Pluto also crossed Neptune's orbit. As a result, Neptune became the planet with the greatest distance from the Sun at the same time as Pluto approached the Sun more closely than Neptune. What do you think of those odd Pluto facts? 16 Pluto's atmosphere changes depending on how far away from the Sun it is. Similar to a comet, Pluto's atmosphere expands as it gets nearer to the Sun and contracts as it gets farther away. Although methane and carbon monoxide molecules were also found, molecular nitrogen is the main factor. 15 Pluto is extremely frigid, making it improbable that life could exist there. At such low temperatures, water would only become solid ice. As a result, the absence of such a necessity is automatically a negative. Some scientists still hold the notion of an ocean deep beneath Pluto. That's an interesting truth about Pluto, no doubt. 14. The huge glacier Sputnik on Pluto features heat convection cells. A network of odd polygonal forms in the ice, each at least 6 miles, 10 kilometers, big, are churning on the surface of the glacier. If you zoom in close to the surface of Sputnik Planitia, you can observe this phenomenon that is unlike anything else in the solar system. Under a microscope, they appear to be cells, but they are actually signs of Pluto's interior heat, seeking to escape from beneath the glacier, creating bubbles of upwelling and downwelling nitrogen ice that resemble lava lamps. Cold ice sinks along the cell borders, whereas warm ice rises to the middle of the cells. There is nothing comparable to it in any of the glaciers on Earth or elsewhere in the solar system that we have discovered. 13. Pluto spins in the opposite way from how the Earth revolves. In other words, the Sun rises on the Plutoid in the west and sets in the east. Venus and Uranus are other planets that rotate retrograde as well. One Pluto fact in particular will demonstrate to you how distinct Pluto is from Earth. 12. Pluto's climate and atmosphere are actually governed by the heartbeat of Pluto. Pluto's frozen heart still beats a daily rhythmic drum that drives Pluto's atmosphere and climate, similar to how Greenland and Antarctica help govern Earth's climate. Pluto may seem cold and remote, but its icy heart nevertheless drives Pluto's atmosphere and climate. Every day, nitrogen ices in Pluto's heart-shaped Tombaugh regio undergo a cycle in which they sublimate from ice to vapor in the daylight sun and condense back to the surface during the bitterly cold night. Nitrogen winds that go around the Earth at up to 20 miles per hour are propelled by each round, which functions like the heartbeat of the planet. Tanguy Bertrand, a planetary scientist at NASA Ames Research Center in Mountain View, California, punned, "Pluto's heart truly governs its atmospheric circulation." 10. Pluto has 5 satellites. The moons of Pluto are named Charon, Hydra, Kerberos, Nix, and Styx. According to one scenario, Pluto collided with another body like it during the early solar system's history, leading to the development of this moon system. 9. The largest Pluton moon is Charon. In relation to its planet, Charon, which is roughly half the size of the dwarf planet, has grown to be the largest satellite. One of the more interesting Pluto facts is that Pluto and Charon have even been referred to frequently as a double planet. 8. The other 4 moons are considerably smaller, barely being greater than 100 miles wide. They are not spherical like Charon, and their shapes are asymmetrical. The fact that they are not in tidal locks with Pluto distinguishes them from the other moons of the solar system. These 4 moons also rotate independently of one another when facing Pluto. 7. Pluto has dune systems. The western side of Sputnik Planitia is covered in hundreds of dunes spanning at least 45 miles, 75 kilometers, albeit not the Sahara or the Gobi Desert. Scientists believe these dunes are relatively recent formations. In order to form dunes, minute particles of sand or other material must be lifted and blown along by prolonged driving winds. Pluto also appeared to have, or may still have, all the elements necessary to form dunes, despite its weak gravity, flimsy atmosphere, bitter cold, and entirely ice-covered surface. 6. Under Pluto's surface, a large ocean of liquid water most likely exists. Gathered ices might not have been the only factor in the reorientation of Sputnik Planitia. According to data from New Horizons, the basin may have had a larger material beneath it that contributed. Scientists believe that the heavier mass is an ocean of water. That finding was astounding, Keene said. Several other lines of evidence, including tectonic structures seen in New Horizons imagery, also point to an ocean beneath Pluto's crust. It would make Pluto an elusive ocean world, in the same vein as Europa, Enceladus, and Titan. 5. Pluto reached New Horizons after 9 years. Despite being launched in January 2006, the robot spacecraft didn't reach Pluto until July 2015. At a distance of around 6,000 feet, it took the closest images of the dwarf planet. In addition, New Horizons would continue to investigate other Kuiper Belt objects by 2018 to 2022. 4 spacecraft New Horizons carried Clyde Tombaugh's ashes. Tombaugh was honored in an odd but appropriate manner for discovering Pluto. Tombaugh's cremated remains were stored on the New Horizons spacecraft, giving him a final opportunity to make his discovery. 3. Pluto's sunlight has a brightness that is comparable to Earth's moonlight. The main cause of this is that the dwarf planet, which is located roughly 5,945,900,000 kilometers from the Sun, is too far away. How do you like those Pluto facts? 2. Pluto's distance from Earth changes over time. 2.6 billion miles or 4.2 billion kilometers separate the nearest point from the farthest point, which is 4.7 billion miles or 7.5 billion kilometers apart. As New Horizons' 2015 mission showed, it would take a spacecraft roughly 10 years to go from Earth to Pluto. 1. Pluto has a heart that controls the planet's activities. The planet's heart, a massive million-square-mile nitrogen glacier, was one among the distinguishing features New Horizons saw on approach and captured in high-resolution images during the flyby. The dwarf planet was literally pushed to rearrange itself, so that the basin now faces almost exactly opposite Pluto's moon Charon by the heart's left ventricle, known as Sputnik Planitia. It's a process called true polar wander. It's when a planetary body changes its spin axis, usually in response to large geologic processes, said James Tuttle-Keene, a planetary scientist and member of the New Horizons team at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. So, that's it for today. We hope you enjoyed the video. Use the comments section below to tell us your thoughts about the video. Also, make sure to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button to be notified of all the latest videos.